Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Kristin Hildabrand, Warren County Extension Agent for Horticulture. There's so many flowers. You've taught me a lot about what's blooming in July that you can get here locally, but there probably are some things that we need to think about.
Yes, so I love the month of July because Kentucky has so many different blooms and variety of stems that are available. So definitely want to give them a shout out, this month. And it is a lot of fun to be able to harvest, cut flowers. And if you get the opportunity to visit like a U-pick operation where you get to do it yourself, that's great. When you go to the trouble of growing all these beautiful blooms, then when you bring them indoors to share with family and friends, maybe different functions, you want them to last as long as possible. So I have a couple of tips. First, I wanted to talk about harvesting. So the number one thing is to make sure you've got a clear, sharp pair of scissors. I know some people prefer clippers, or even some people say snips, but whatever the type of scissors that you use, just make sure they're clean and make sure that they're nice and sharp. It's not fun using a dull pair of scissors, so you do want to make sure that each time that you're given a clean cut that it's not bruising that stem, and that's going to shorten the vase life. One of the other tips that I have for harvesting is make sure you harvest during the coolest part of the day. Personally, Joanna, I like to go out early in the morning, and sometimes if you can get out there really at dawn, that's going to be when the blooms are the best hydrated. So, if you wanted to, you could do it at the very, very end of the day, but sometimes there's just a lot more things to deal with at that time. So if you can get up early, and that way you can harvest at that time. One of the other things that I like to take along with me is a bucket, and then also go ahead and fill it up with water, and that way each time that you are harvesting the stems, you've got that right there ready to go. You want to make sure that the container that you're taking, the bucket or the vase, is clean, so you want to go ahead and make sure that's done ahead of time. One of the other things to look at, especially depending on what blooms that you have that you're harvesting, if you can try to harvest it at the proper stage, because a lot of times, if it's fully opened, then it's not going to last as long. Sometimes when the bee gets to it, there's going to be some fading that's going to happen. So a general rule of thumb that we like to use is 1/3 to about halfway open. So it's not fully open, but it's about that. So that way that you get the longest vase life.
So Kristin, you have this glad here, and
yes,
it has a few blooms, but you can see that there's several more on here that'll be ready. So
yes,
if you care for this properly, that will continue to go ahead and bloom?
Yes, it will. So if you can try to do that, and sometimes, places will say, harvest at a particular stage if you visit a U-pick operation, so that way it's a little bit easier, or, like I said, it's better to harvest when it's not fully open, so you get a little bit more time. The other thing to look at is maximize your stem length. So whenever you're harvesting these blooms, make sure that you cut it at the lowest part that you can reach, because that way whenever you do put it into a bucket of water, that you're able, whenever you do take it home with you, you can basically cut it at the right, depending on what your arrangement that you're using it for. And with harvesting these cut flowers, it's a lot of fun, and if you can get your children involved, it's even a better experience that way. Another tip that I would like to say is make sure you have a variety of different blooms, like the glads that you mentioned here are more of a line flower. The cosmos that we have is more of the focal flower, so it's going to provide that main flower. The amaranth that we have here is really good for filler, and then also the yarrow that's down in here in the center is also a good filler. Foliage is another one that's really good for harvesting, so if you can have a nice variety of different blooms to choose from, you can make a really nice arrangement when you get it home.
Yeah, and so Kristin, when we take this home, do we immediately go and put the arrangement together?
There is some care that we're going to talk about, and so you do want to be able to condition the flowers.
So if you want more information about harvesting local cuts, make sure to contact your local extension office. And to find out about all the cut flower operations that we have here locally, Kristin, there is a website.
Yes, so if you want to visit the commercial cut flower directory, that is housed on the Center for Crop Diversification website, and we can certainly get that over to you so that way you can find all these beautiful cut flower growers for the month of July.
All right, Kristin, thanks for the information, and we appreciate you watching the Farm and Home Show. Have a great day.